This is an Auburn team that's 3-2. They're 0-2 in league play. They crushed UMass 59-14. They went out to Cal in a weird SEC Pac-12 game and won it 14-10 late night. I loved the kick time there because LSU had a late night game against Grambling, and I could get home and watch a little bit of Auburn and Cal, which I did. It was an ugly football game, but Auburn won it 14-10. They came back home and played Samford and beat them 45-13. And they got into SEC play, and they've dropped a couple to some pretty stout defenses and solid teams. They went to College Station and lost 27-10 to A&M, and they got beat by Georgia at home 27-20 last week. So that's how they got here. Question is, what did we learn throughout that 5-game path that has them at 3-2 and 0-2? Well, their scoring offense is number 11 in the SEC at 29.6 points per game, which is not good. But if you take out a 59-point walloping that they gave UMass and a 45-point walloping that they gave Samford, and you really just look at Cal, A&M, and Georgia, you're averaging 12.3 points per game, okay? That's not real rosy at all. And I give you that 12.3 points per game as an offensive production. I'm not giving you credit for a scoop and score against A&M. I'm giving your offense credit for 3 points in that one. 14 against Cal, 3 against A&M, 20 against Georgia. That's what the offense has done, 12.3 points per game. So what are they trying to do here? We know that Hugh Freeze is a good offensive coach. We know that he brought in a transfer quarterback in Peyton Thorne. They've still got Robbie Ashford. You wouldn't figure it would be poetry in motion at this point, but what is Hugh Freeze trying to accomplish? Okay. Well, they're number 1 in the SEC in rushing attempts per game. They're 15th nationally in rushing attempts per game. They want to run the ball a ton. And they're number 4 in rushing yards per carry. So they've been reasonably successful at running the ball. Between A&M and Georgia, in those 2 games, Auburn ran it 84 times and threw it 43 times. So it's almost 2-1 run to pass, and they were trailing A&M the whole time and lost to Georgia. So even though they've been trying to catch up and score points in the A&M game and trying to add to their lead early in the game and then catch up late against Georgia, they're still running the ball at a 2-1 clip in those games. Now, what's their success rate when they're trying to run it? Well, it's actually pretty good against Georgia. They ran for 219 yards in that game, and I'll remind you that Georgia has not given up 219 yards in a single game on the ground since a game a lot of you attended. It was in 2018, Burrow's first year here inside Tiger Stadium. LSU that day ran for 275 yards. Clyde busted a big one up the middle. Joe had a big one late down the right sideline. LSU ran for 275 that day. No one has run for 218 against Georgia since that day, and Auburn did it 2 weeks ago. So they want to run the ball. They've got a couple of solid running backs that they'll hand the ball to. Beatty is the change of pace guy. He's going to he's 5'8", and he's got a little speed. He'll get to the edge at times. That's a change of pace back that they've got. And Jarquez Hunter has been there for 3 years now, and he's not a big, huge physical presence, but he's 5'10" and stocky, 215, 220 pounds, and is a solid running back. And then Thorne runs it a little bit. He busted a 60-yarder against Georgia off right tackle on a read option play, and they've got Robbie Ashford who they can go to as kind of a wrinkle player who's mainly in there to run the football. It's a pretty good run offense. They run the read option stuff. They're pulling tackles and linemen everywhere. They're running a lot of inside zone. They run some counter. It's creative. There's misdirection involved. That's the stuff we saw from Hugh Freeze when he was at Ole Miss. And then you get to the passing offense. I could give you like a few stats, and I will, about where this passing offense is for Auburn. What if I just led with this? Army has more passing yards per game than Auburn. Is that a good stat for you? Army throws for more yards per game than Auburn at this point. It should come as no surprise after I lay that out to you that Auburn is 14th in the SEC. That is good for dead last in passing offense. They are number 122 of 133. So there are only 11 schools in the country with a more anemic passing offense than what Auburn has boasted thus far. Peyton Thorne, who's come in from Michigan State, 59 of 94. That's 63%. He's throwing for 128 yards per game, y'all. 4 touchdowns, 4 picks. It's not great. It's not. He's played in 5 games. Peyton Thorne has 643 yards passing in 5 games. Can I put that in perspective for you? Thorne 643 in 5 games. KJ Costello 623 in 1 game in Tiger Stadium in the opener of the COVID year. That's 20 yards short of Peyton Thorne's season to this point in 5 games. It's not pretty through the air for Auburn. It's just not. They're throwing the ball mainly around the line of scrimmage. It's not a lot of deep throws. Thorne attempted just 5 throws past 10 yards against Georgia. He was 2 of 5 on those and threw an interception on one of them. So it's conservative, it's inefficient, and it's not very explosive, which you look at this LSU offense, a defense, I should say, and you say, okay, good. This is not, Lane Kiffin and Jackson Dart. This is an offense you should be able to handle. It's not Luther Burton from last week, who you're going to have to really struggle to stop. Auburn doesn't have that guy. Jay Fair leads them in catches with 18. He's a 5'10", 185-pound sophomore. Sean Hooks, 6'4", senior's got 8 catches on the year. Their tight end's probably the best pass catcher. That's Rivaldo Fairweather, 6'4", 250. He's got 15 catches and didn't play in the first game. I'll split this in half as crisply as I can. This is a terrible passing offense, and it is a very functional running offense. So I have no doubt that what Hugh Freeze is going to want to do is show up in Tiger Stadium, and if he can run it 52 times and throw it 17, he would love it. He would love it. Slow the game, or speed the game up, I should say. Keep the football. Keep LSU's defense tired. Limit the amount of possessions in the game. And try to get out of here with a win where they get some stops in the red zone, have some success running the ball, maybe try to limit LSU's explosive plays, get a turnover like they did against Georgia, and that's your best shot. If LSU comes out and gets up 17-0, 21-0, 21-3, like this explosive offense could, if the defense comes out fired up and gets a couple stops or a turnover, and you put Auburn behind the 8 ball, they're not built for it. They don't have the playmakers on the outside like Mississippi State didn't. Remember how that went? But State could not run the ball, and their offensive line was shot. This Auburn offensive line is not shot. It's decent. It's pretty good. And they straight took it to Georgia on some running plays. Now, a lot of their success in that game was on the edges. Not really jet sweep stuff, but some read option that pulled some linemen that got you to the corner, got you to the sideline. I mentioned the Thorne run. They got Hunter out there a couple of times, got Batty out there a couple of times. Like, it's not, there's plenty of downhill that's between the tackles, but there is some real pressure being put on the edges as well. And I'm certain that LSU will look at that tape and figure out what they need to do to make sure that they set the edges and try to turn that thing back in. It would be foolish of me to sit here on Thursday and say, hey, LSU knows Auburn's going to run it. They got Mason Smith. They got Mekhi Wingo. They got Savion Jones. They got Ovi Ugofu. They got Whit Weeks. They got Harold Perkins. And they're going to step in there. They know what's coming. They're going to shut it down. I don't know they're going to shut it down. But make it tough and force Thorne to throw and give yourself a chance there, because Auburn has had no success doing that. Again, the point totals suggest it. For a team that is running the ball well, to score 14 on Cal, 3 on A&M, and 20 on Georgia is just not very productive at all. It's one-dimensional. And at least if you're LSU's defense or you're an LSU fan that's listening to this show that is concerned about the defense is going to be watching this game, you should feel a little bit better about the fact that, man, I'm looking at this quarterback. His numbers stink. I'm looking at these wide receivers. 18 catches is leading the team. 8 is second for the wide receivers. I mean, that's one day at the office from Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. This has taken them a month and a half. If LSU allows Auburn to come out there, throw it all over the place, and score a bunch of points, I can't say stunned, but startled. I'll be startled. How's that? If Auburn gets the run game going and controls time of possession, I won't be startled. That's going to be their plan coming in. Be LSU's job defensively to make sure that doesn't happen. We're off and running here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We got a lot to get to over the next 30 minutes. We're going to hear from Jason Caldwell from Inside the Auburn Tigers. He's with us at 1:30. When we come back, Luke Johnson talks Saints on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. I tell you every single day about Marucci Sports, our current champion of Louisiana. Marucci was started right here in the capital city back in a shed, carving bats. All of a sudden, you fast forward to now, you're talking about one of the premier baseball equipment dealers in the game. But it's not just that. It's not just a bat company. Oh, cool batting gloves. Look at those gloves. No. This is a company that does a ton for our state. And that's what LWCC wants to focus on. The economic boon that Marucci gives us with the Marucci World Series each and every July that brings thousands of people here to Baton Rouge. It's the workforce that they've built that keeps talent in Louisiana and brings talent into the state of Louisiana to work here. That's why Marucci's a champion of Louisiana. If you know of someone doing great work in our state philanthropically, we'd love to tell their story. LWCC gives us that platform with their Champions of Louisiana program. Go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time to slip away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me. Oh,
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. We'll head to Auburn, take a closer look at the Tigers. Your Fantasy Blitz, Ryan Clark, will join us. It's Thursday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Shout out to Rouse's, bringing you our Thursday shows right here on The Hunt Palmer Show. Jason Caldwell inside the Auburn Tigers going to be with us here in 15 minutes talking LSU and Auburn. We'll shift our focus to the National Football League with Saints and what they've got coming up with the Texans on Sunday. Luke Johnson's our guy with the Advocate covering the black and gold. He's with us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I'm just waiting on our shared winnings for your Powerball ticket.
Yeah, well, you've got all of them. You've got all the money that's coming from that Powerball ticket. I did not get one number. I had 2 tickets. That's $6 hard-earned dollars I spent on that Powerball. I play like once a year. I thought this was the time. It didn't happen for me.
I will crack a beer tonight in solemn remembrance of your loss.
It was crushing because, I mean, look, I'm just telling you, I'm not going to divulge my entire financial situation, but like $480 million in cash would have helped my situation currently. We just didn't get it home.
Yeah, me too. Okay.
Do you think the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl this year?
You know, I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. Yeah, they were awful, huh? They were just really, really bad. And look, I think the good thing is that the Saints beat up on a bad team, right? You don't want to see them go up there and play a tight game, which is kind of what I was anticipating seeing. Yeah, they just went out there and smoked them, and I think the Patriots have just a load of problems. I mean, they've got so little like game-changing talent, so little juice. Probably their 2 best players were injured, in Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez. They're in just deep trouble up there.
What was the best thing you saw from the Saints on Sunday?
You know, I think even though that I just talked about how bad that offense is, I think when you see this defense just like completely put the clamps on a team that they just kind of completely outclass, that's good. It's a really good sign for me. And look, this defense is like top 10 in basically every single metric you want to look at, whether it's advanced metrics or just like your normal counting stats. So you kind of expect them to go out there and have a dominant day. I don't think you even expect a shutout, though. You know, they really put the clamps on that team. I think they only had like 2 possessions that went inside Saints territory, and I don't think they got farther than the 40 or the 35. So yeah, it was just a complete dominant defensive effort, and that's exactly what you want to see against a team like New England.
I know what we know now changes your answer, but if you could go back 2 years or so on the beat, would it surprise you from 2 years from now to know what Carl Granderson has become instead of Peyton Turner or Marcus Davenport?
Yeah, I think so. I thought he was a nice rotation player for them. And look, I know they've had their misses on guys, mainly because of injury with Turner and Davenport. But they've had a pretty good eye for defensive line talent, I think, over the years. So yeah, I thought he'd be a guy who's playing like 35% of the snaps max, where he's just coming in and maybe helping out on pass rushing downs. But he's really turned into a complete player. We saw him make a couple of really nice plays against the run this week. And when you have that on the opposite side of Cam Jordan, and then you have the 2 defensive guys in the interior playing really well, whoever they're playing in there, whether it's Roach or Saunders or Brzee or Shepard, I mean, that's like a recipe for success defensively. And I think we've seen it play out this year in terms of like their turnover numbers, in terms of the way they've defended the run. It's been really solid, and Granderson's been a huge part of that.
How does Marcus May coming back impact the secondary?
Yeah, I don't think it's like a huge difference. Just saying that's really more of a credit to Jordan Howden than anything. I think Howden's played really solid football since he's had to fill in. And Marcus May is a nice player, but I still don't think we've seen the best out of him. Remember last year he was not only hurt last year, but he was also coming off a Achilles injury. I think he had a couple nice games earlier this year before his suspension started, but we still haven't seen the guy who's getting paid $8-9 million a year. I'm curious if it's going to really make a big impact, or if it's just going to kind of be more of the same, which is totally fine.
Chatting with Luke Johnson, Saint beat reporter for The Advocate, covering the black and gold with us every Thursday here in hour number 1. Let's switch to the offense. Do they find anything there?
I think it's too early to say. They played really well. I think they played as good as, or better than they've played all year for sure. I think the offensive line played a really solid game. Derek Carr was only pressured 3 times. If it wasn't for the game kind of being out of hand late and them being predictable, I thought they ran the ball really well. I think if they can carry those things forward, where they're just giving Derek Carr a little time to throw, they're actually establishing a pretty consistent ground game, I think they can be a good offense. And if you compare a good offense with a great defense, you have a chance to, I think, have a pretty good season. But they got to show they can do it again, because this is one time in 5 games that we've seen them really have a decent game offensively. Let's see if they can keep it going.
Well, let's go to the Texans then. When you look at this Houston team, I think they're probably better than most of us thought they would be in August. But what do you see when you kind of start breaking them down?
Well, I mean, the very first thing that pops out is obviously C.J. Stroud. I think he's definitely exceeded my own personal expectations. And I think he's probably opened a lot of eyes around the league. He's so poised for a young quarterback. He knows where to go with the ball, and he doesn't make mistakes. I mean, he's got 7 touchdowns and no interceptions this year. Houston's got the number 3 pass offense in the NFL. So, I think it starts and ends with him. If they're able to do to him what they do to other rookie quarterbacks, what they did to Bryce Young and what they've done to other guys in the past, I really like their chances. But this is a completely different animal than what they've faced this year. I mean, really, look back at the 5 quarterbacks they've played: Ryan Tannehill, Baker Mayfield, Bryce Young, Jordan Love, Mac Jones. I mean, out of all those guys, is any of those guys going to strike any fear in your heart? Not really. So, I mean, we'll see what they do against a guy who's playing pretty high-level ball right now.
What do you think about left tackle at this point?
Well, I think obviously Trevor Penning has not been playing up to the Saints' expectations. I think he's played a lot better as a pass blocker as the season's progressed, but he's still not there. So I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, obviously they've got a guy on the bench in Andres Pete who has played a bunch of football, and they've got a guy at Andres Pete's current position who played a bunch of left tackle for him last year. So we'll see what happens with that as the season progresses. But I still think they have a lot of faith in him, over the course of this rookie contract, to turn into a player they can trust there. But I just don't know where it's at right now.
I think we can discard the Panthers at this point for this season. So it feels like a 3-team race. Where do you think the Saints stack up as we sit here in the middle of October?
I mean, I still like the Saints in the NFC South. I know the Bucks beat the snot out of the Saints in the Superdome, but I would not be surprised if they ended up finishing 3rd and just kind of being a little bit of a mirage in the early part of the season. I still think that the team that I'm most worried about is, if I'm a Saints fan, is the Falcons. Especially if Desmond Ridder can ever figure it out on a consistent basis. He played pretty well last week against Houston. And they've got some guys, man, especially on offense. And I think their defense is playing a lot better than we've seen in recent years. So yeah, it's kind of the way it stacks up to me right now, even though the Bucks are number 1 in the division, is Saints 1, Falcons 2, Bucks 3, and Panthers are real distant 4th.
That's Luke Johnson, Saints beat reporter for The Advocate, here every single Thursday. Enjoy Houston, Luke. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I'm going to try to not run into all these Astros fans down there. All of a sudden it's going to be super busy. So
it's going to be quite an environment down there. I think they're all pretty fired up for the Stros.
Yeah. Maybe me and Breggy will go grab a drink before he plays ALCS game 1.
He's too busy hitting a bunch of homers to have a drink with you. So just enjoy that by yourself. Thanks, man.
Yeah, sounds good, man. Yep.
Luke Johnson. Always enjoy our conversations with Luke. I'm with him on just about every front there. I think it'll be interesting to see what the Saints do in the next 3 weeks with left tackle. I'm not a pro football focus grader. I'm not exactly certain what the best technique is all the time. And I know you can't swing the gate open and you got to use your hands and holding penalties are bad. I can do a very elementary level study, but it appears to me based on every metric, every observer, that Trevor Penning is really hurting them on the offensive line. It's not just in pass protection. It feels like it's in run protection, as run blocking as well. So that's a question mark. The rest of the personnel on offense just kind of is what it is. They got to play a little bit better. If the defense shuts people out, then you're probably going to be in pretty good shape. That's certainly what they got last week. We'll see what they can do against C.J. Stroud and the Texans. We'll talk about those Houston Texans coming up in hour number 2 when we chat with Locked On Texans Cody Davis at 2:30. Take a time out. We'll come back, switch gears to the Auburn Tigers. Jason Caldwell covers Auburn and has for 2 decades. He's with us every time Auburn is in town, and that's this weekend, so we'll talk to him next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is that website. David Duvall, his team, 30 years in the business, redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You may think, I can't afford to do a remodel of my bathroom. I can't afford to get that customized closet. Maybe you can. There are financing options available with David Duvall and his team. You just got to explore them and see what he can do. It doesn't cost you anything to have the free consultation. That's why it's called the free consultation. Get David Duvall and his team out there. Go to the website, OneBathAndClosets.com, request that consultation. Let him tell you what he can do. It starts with a questionnaire. See kind of what do we have, what do we need on the closet side of things. He can customize a closet to your specifications, to your wardrobe. We're all a little bit different. David Duvall can help you do that, and he can certainly do it in the bathroom as well. So contact One Bath and Closets and go ahead and see what financing options they've got for you so that you can improve your current situation in your home. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. They've got the great pictures of their work. They've got testimonials. And again, free consultation at OneBathAndClosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
Coming up on Fridays Off the Bench, let's kick off a little Football Friday. Give you our final predictions for LSU Auburn, Saints Texans, and the rest of the weekend slate. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
LSU and Auburn Saturday night in Death Valley. It'll be a 6 o'clock kickoff-ish, a few minutes after 6 o'clock. And the last time these two teams will meet annually that we know of as we transition into a new era in the SEC. Jason Caldwell has covered those Auburn Tigers for 2.5 decades. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Jason, how are you?
What's up, Hunt? You doing good?
Doing very well. I guess we'll start the same way we started for the last 7 years. Is this the year that Auburn finally breaks the streak inside Tiger? Oh, Brian Harsin did that. Was that amazing or what? That Brian Harson's the one that came in here and won.
Well, I think it was Bo Nix that came in there and won. It was. Yes, it was. I was just going back through some things and looking at that. Bo had 290 yards passing. Obviously, the amazing play that he made in that game, but I went back and looked before that. Nick Marshall is they had 3 straight trips down where Auburn completed about 40% of his passes for a total of about 350 yards. And so, it was much ado about Bo Nix and his will to win on that day. And, you look and gosh, Auburn's had so many opportunities, to go from 97 to then to not win and to have games where you led by 21 points. And there's a bunch of, there's some that there were blowouts, but last couple. Even that great LSU team was a 3-point game.
Yeah.
One that was before that was a 4-point game, and so they've actually played fairly well down there. But it's kind of been a matter of not making plays in clutch moments. That's kind of been the story of this team. Opportunities against Georgia, opportunities against Texas A&M, and it just couldn't make a key play here or there. They're going to have to make quite a few of those on Saturday night.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to have to make obviously some plays to win this game. I want to talk about this game, but let's go to the rivalry here. I made a point yesterday to say, look, I think there are games that LSU's played more times in their history, certainly. There are probably teams that the people in Baton Rouge dislike more than Auburn, and it goes the same way. I think there's one Crimson and Cream team that Auburn and LSU hate more than each other. Yeah. But as far as content and named games and wild stuff, there has not been a rivalry on LSU's schedule that has produced more of it than Auburn. What is the emotion from the Auburn side that this one won't be an annual trip anymore?
Yeah, I think obviously you look back and you're right. This is not the most played or the longest rivalry for these two teams. For the most part, they didn't play other than a couple of times in the 80s, and then it's really started up in the 90s. There's a couple in the 70s they played too. But really starting in 92 until Nick Saban got to Tuscaloosa, this was a game that more often than not was the one that was the key to who got to Atlanta. And, for a lot of years, it played a big part in the race, and it still does, because now it kind of determines, okay, who's going to challenge Alabama at the end of the year for maybe a spot. So, there's been some wild ones. I just did a radio show a little bit ago, and they ran down 6 or 7 games, and they didn't mention the 2 I was thinking of. So that's how many memorable games there have been between these two in the last, 30 years or so.
It is. It's been nuts, and it'll be a lot of fun on Saturday night. Let's talk about Hugh Freeze's first iteration of the Auburn Tigers here. Kind of when you look at statistics, a team that wants to run the football and has struggled to throw it offensively. What's the identity?
That's it. I think still searching for an identity when you don't have a transfer quarterback on campus in the spring. Then I think it challenges you to go, okay, how are you going to figure it out? I think we can see that with Kentucky right now. Devin Leary's a guy that was really good that people thought could be a first-round draft pick, and they haven't really found it in the passing game yet. And I think that's the thing that is tough. You can take a guy that's really experienced But if he doesn't have experience with those guys and in this offense, then sometimes it takes a little while. And this team has run it well. They've, even against A&M, the running backs themselves average about 8 yards a carry. And then last week, or 2 weeks ago, they ran for over 200 yards against Georgia. So they've been able to run the football, quarterback being part of that, just trying to find wide receivers to make plays and trying to get on the same page. And that's been the goal for them. See if a bye week can help some of those things as they get ready to try to go and see what they can do against LSU. And I don't think you're going to. The one thing they know, you can't try to match points with Jaden Daniels. You're going to have to try to do some things to try to keep him off the field as much as possible.
I think everyone's familiar with Jarquez Hunter and Peyton Thorman, Robbie Ashford around here, but is it a talent issue at wide receiver or is it an execution issue at this point? He's obviously got to go, and he's doing a really good job of recruiting.
Yeah, it's both. It's both. I mean, it's not strictly one or the other. I think it's a little bit of both. When you start thinking about they had to go get transfers because they knew in the spring, hey, we're not good enough there. And when you go get some transfers, you might get some guys you might find a guy that's a dude, but a lot of times you're getting guys just to go, hey, we need the guy to make us better. I think that, and I said this, I think we talked in the summer, I think this is a roster that went from no chance to compete to now you've given yourself a chance to compete. I think that's where they are right now. Now, obviously the mistakes and things that they got to execute to be able to push it over the top, and they haven't been able to do that. But I think there are some talented guys. I think it's been a combination of both of those things. But this is not a wide receiver group that has a Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas. They just don't have those guys on this roster, and that's what they're trying to go get in the recruiting trail.
He's Jason Caldwell, AuburnUndercover.com, part of the 24/7 network, also the Auburn Undercover podcast, which I listened to with you and Nathan King entering the bye week, and it sounded like on the defense, bye was coming at a good time in terms of injuries, a couple of high-profile ones as well. Can you kind of give us as good an update as you have on the injuries as they come off the bye and down to Baton Rouge?
Yeah, I think obviously the guy that they missing maybe more than anybody is Keontae Scott. He's back running around, but he's not going to be ready to play by this week. So that's been their nickel and the guy that does some of that pressure situations along with, New Orleans native there. Donovan Kaufman is a guy that's really excelled in this defense along with Eugene Asante. And so, but getting healthier, Jalen Simpson should be good to go. And he's been playing as good as anybody in the country at safety, in my opinion. He's been playing exceptional football. And so, they should be healthier than they've been after, but road trip across the country to Cal and then playing A&M and Georgia back-to-back has been a challenge for them. And so I think the bye week came at a great time for this team to try to get some of those bumps and bruises that are just natural parts of playing college football, try to get those healed up.
So 14-10 at Cal. Then you go to College Station, only 3 offensive points, but I thought the offense functioned pretty well against Georgia. What was the biggest difference in that game?
Yeah, Cal and Texas A&M both had a lot of self-inflicted wounds. Holding call on a first down run where you gained 16 yards and you would have been inside the 20-yard line, and it backs it up, and you end up not even being in field goal range, or a couple of turnovers when you're moving the football. That's the things they did, in those games. I thought at Georgia they executed better and took a step forward. And I thought Peyton Thorne actually threw some balls well. Didn't get a whole lot of help from his receivers, but they were able to create a couple turnovers and got touchdowns out of them. But even in that game, you have a chance inside the 20-yard line to have a couple of cracks at third and short and fourth and short and potentially go down and score. You don't get any points out of it. And then you have another opportunity where you have a throw down the sidelines and would have had a first down inside the 20 and can't come up with a catch. Those are the kind of plays that this team has to have to win a game like that. But I thought it was a step forward. And can they take another step forward after the bye week? If they do that, then this is the team that has a chance to do some fun things down the stretch. Even though, like I said, the roster probably doesn't match up from a talent standpoint. They're playing hard, and I think they're on the same page, and that's really a good sign.
What would a win mean for Hugh Freeze in year one?
I think they've already validated somewhat, but a validation win to go, hey, look, we told you this thing was coming. And I think even, there's no moral victories, but I think doing what they did against Georgia a couple of weeks ago validated some of it, where they're going, look, we told you we were going to get there. Now we need you to put us over the top. because everything's about recruiting. It's all about players. I mean, we know that's what it is, and it's always been that way, but it's never been more important now. So can you show those guys that you have committed or the guys that you're still recruiting, look, we're going to get there. All I need is a few more pieces. That's what a win would do, I think, from that standpoint.
Jason, always enjoy our conversations. I appreciate the time. Safe travels down to Baton Rouge.
Appreciate you. See you soon.
Is Jason Caldwell, inside the Auburn Tigers, Auburn Undercover. You can follow him on Twitter at ITATJason. Done an awesome job covering Auburn for 24 years on the Plains, and I've had him on every week since I've gotten into radio during the pregame show starting in 2017. So always enjoy our chats, and we'll catch up with him down the road when it's basketball season and LSU heads to Auburn with some round ball. But it's football season right now, and we've got plenty of football to get to over the next hour and 15 minutes. Chris Blair is going to be with us in 30 minutes. We're going to chat Texans coming up in 45 minutes, about an hour from right now as well. So looking forward to that. Shout out to the folks at Rouse's. Rouse's brings you our Thursday shows. Download the Rouse's app. It makes everything so much easier, as most apps do in our lives. Some of us, I do, love going in the grocery store and just kind of looking around, making your selections. But if you don't have time for that, busy at the end of this week, just go to the Rouse's app, do all your shopping right there at the tip of your fingers, and you can set a pickup time. You'll have your personal shopper go in there and handle it. They'll bring it right out to you curbside. You never set foot in the door. And if you spend $35, which, let's be honest, doesn't take much, then you don't spend an extra cent on curbside pickup. It's just a convenience factor from the folks over at Rouse's. And if you're tailgating, need your supplies for game day out there at Tiger Stadium, Rouse's is your stop. T-Bob will be out there tomorrow, Burbank and Lee from 3 to 5, as he always is. And it's an awesome spot to be, and they're all over the place. So check the Rouse's nearest you on that app and get on by for your weekend groceries. We appreciate Rouse's bringing you our Thursday shows. When we come back, best win, worst loss on the board. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready to start the NFL week off right, because right now all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday night football. Just place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game. It's the Broncos and the Chiefs. I think any wager on the Broncos might be a little foolish in this one, but you do what you got to do. You get bonus bets back even if you don't win that same-game parlay. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at an even bigger payday. Build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present in Louisiana. Refund issued, non-withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you or somebody knows a gambling problem wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Scoocha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Bayou Ford is taking $10,000 off MSRP on select new 23 Ford F-150 trucks. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you.
Charles Handgrove, join us for Lock of the Week Friday, presented by Tex Morris at Edward Jones Investments from Rufino's. We get started early at 10 a.m. for 3 hours of football talk. Live at lunch, 10 a.m. on Friday from 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Closing out hour number one here. Going to get to my best win and worst loss in college football and the NFL, but I've neglected to get to my Survivor pick in time over the last couple of weeks and want to do so because I'm still alive in Survivor. Week 1 in Survivor, we took the Bills. We took the Ravens. They got a win. Week 2, we took the Bills. They won. Week 3, we took the Chiefs. So we're taking some heavy hitters in the AFC there. Went to the 49ers in Week 4. That's a heavy hitter. And we got home with the Lions last week in Week 5. So it's not like we're laying off. We're putting the pedal to the metal and making it happen. And this week, I've still got one that looks pretty good on paper. So Beck said I couldn't get to Week 9. That's where the goal. Beck, are you officially nervous about my ability to get to Week 9? Beck, are you nervous about my ability to get to Week 9?
Yes, I am.
I think you should be, because in Week 6, we got the Dolphins. The Dolphins are good. The Dolphins score a lot of points. The Dolphins are fun. The Dolphins are fast. The Dolphins are awesome. And the Panthers stink. So we got the Dolphins in Miami against the Panthers in Week 6. We feel great about it. We're going to make that happen. So we've got the Dolphins in Survivor. Now, best win, worst loss on the board. Best win, I'm going to go out west. And I think that there's a term that gets used a little bit cavalierly, which is a conference will cannibalize itself. Cannibalize themselves. Oh, it's got these good teams. Well, guess who never got cannibalized? Nick Saban's Bama teams. Kirby hadn't exactly gotten cannibalized in the SEC the last couple of years. 2019 LSU, not really cannibalized. Cam Newton didn't really get cannibalized. I think a better term for these Pac-12 teams, and you can say, well, they're going to cannibalize themselves. Well, maybe just somebody stand up and be awesome. How about that? And you've got an opportunity to be awesome in Seattle this weekend if you're Oregon or Washington. So because Oregon's on the road and Washington's a favorite in the game, I'll take Oregon as the biggest win on the board this week. They're playing in Seattle. Game day's there. It should be a pretty good environment. I was up there in Seattle in 2009 when LSU went up there. The stadium was a dump. They've spent a bunch of money on it. I'm sure it's very nice now. We were like 500 yards away from the action. There was a track between the field. There was wooden bleachers up there. It was a tough scene. Even though it's gorgeous on the Puget Sound. But it should be a pretty good environment for Kalen DeBoer and that Washington program. Obviously, for Dan Lanning in Oregon, this is a huge opportunity. Somebody's going to come out of there undefeated with a huge win, and I think the biggest win on the board would be Oregon beating Washington. The worst loss here, to me, it's Louisville. You are 6-0, riding high. You've got your prodigal son who's returned. Braum was a star, goes to Purdue, now is at Louisville, and you're 6-0 right out of the gate. This is a great spot for you. You just beat Notre Dame, and here you go to Pittsburgh to play the Panthers. And Pitt's 1-4, and there's not going to be anybody in what was once Heinz Field. I also walked by there. We were at come on, give me the PNC Park, Pirates. At a Pirates game against the Reds when LSU played West Virginia. There was an ad that said there was a casino in walking distance, so we immediately got up and walked to the casino. Walked right by what was then Heinz Field. Nice facility, gorgeous town in Pittsburgh, right there on the water. But nobody's going to be at this Pitt game because nobody cares about Pitt football, and especially not when they're 1-4. So 6-0 Louisville, fresh off a huge win against Notre Dame. Don't lose to Pitt. That would be the worst loss on the board. Best win on the board in the NFL. I'm going to go to the NFC South here, and it's not the Saints going on the road. To me, it's the Bucs at home if they could beat the Lions. The Lions are playing great. They are physical. Aiden Hutchinson's been awesome. Jared Goff has played great. They're scoring points. They're good on defense. Like the Lions have validated what they did late last year. Nobody thinks the Bucs have really validated anything, and nobody believes them to be much. I just asked Luke Johnson, hey, how do you think the Saints stack up in the South right now? He said, I think they're the best, and I think the Falcons are their chief competitor. Even though the Bucs went to the Superdome and throttled the Saints, nobody believes in them. Well, beat a good Lions team. I know it's at home. You got a chance. I think that would be the best win on the board in the NFL if Tampa could beat the Lions. Worst loss, I just told you. It was like 3.5 minutes ago. The Dolphins at home cannot lose to the Panthers, who are winless. Everybody loves the Dolphins, loves to watch the Dolphins. They're high-flying. They score points. Their coach is a little quirky and gives weird interviews, and he does a weird dance thing during practice, and we're not really sure, but it's kind of fun. So, yeah, we like that. And they're in a pretty good division. I think that the Patriots are terrible. The Jets are tough because of their defense, and then I think Buffalo's really good. So, you got to win games, and certainly when you got a team like Carolina that's coming to you, you ought to get it done. So that's my survivor. That'd be the worst loss in the NFL. Best win in the NFL, the Bucs beating Tampa. The worst loss in college football, 6-0 Louisville losing at Pitt, and the best win out in the Pac-12 would be Oregon over Washington. That's going to be a really fun game. Like I'm kind of pitiful. I don't spend a lot of time watching the Big 12. I don't spend a lot of time watching the Big 10. I don't even lock in on Michigan, Ohio State half the time. I'm watching the SEC 95% of the time. I'm watching college football. And I'm not going to be able to watch Oregon and Washington because I'll be on the air and we'll have the pregame show in the game. So I won't see any of this game either. But I would watch this one because those two quarterbacks are really good. And this one means a lot. And those two schools don't like each other and they're going to the Big 10. I think it's going to be quite a scene in Seattle. It was a weird scene when we went because they were coming off an 0-12 and they had, Locker and then Stark was their head coach. I got told a bunch of times in Seattle that I probably couldn't read. I actually read fairly well. But because I guess I'm from Louisiana, reading was suspect, which believe what you will up there in the Pacific Northwest. But weird scene when we were there. I think it'll be a great scene for this one. So those are your best wins and worst losses of the weekend. That'll do it for hour number 1 here on the Hunt Palmer Show on this Thursday. Open things up talking about the Auburn run game and what they try to do versus a really, really bad passing game. How can LSU stop them? I talked about that at 1 o'clock. You can find that on YouTube at Hunt on LSU. It's the Hunt on LSU channel. All LSU football. If all you care about is LSU football, Hunt on LSU is for you. All of my posts will come right to your homepage if you like it and subscribe to that channel. Luke Johnson was with us at 1:15 talking Saints and Texans. If you like the Saints, you love the Hoodats, part of the nation, well, we can help you with that. Hunt on Saints on YouTube. Subscribe to it, like it. We appreciate that. Jason Caldwell inside the Auburn Tigers talking Auburn at 1:30. In hour number 2, got a couple of guests coming up in 15 minutes. You'll get Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, and Cody Davis from Locked On Texans. We'll talk Texans and Saints with us at 2:30. Come back. We'll hear some sound from Brian Kelly as well as Hugh Freeze. Sports Center, then second hour of the Hunt Palmer Show coming at you.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Nick DeLuca. Denver shaking up their defense. The Broncos moving on from Pro Bowl defensive end Frank Clark with a trade or release in the coming days. They own the NFL's worst scoring defense. Denver opens Week 6 on Thursday night against the Chiefs. KC tight end Travis Kelce, questionable with a foot injury, is expected to play. According to Adam Schefter, Broncos getting tight end Greg Dulcich back, activated from injured reserve. In baseball, 1 spot left in the Final Four. Phillies can eliminate the Braves tonight with Atlanta up against it. Former Cardinal Adam Wainwright says the series isn't over.
I wouldn't be surprised at all
to see Atlanta win with Strider on the mound and that go to a Game 5. I don't know who's going to win that series, honestly. Even though they're in Philly and Philly's got seemingly a ton of momentum right now, it's hard to bet against that lineup that the Braves have. I think whoever wins that series is going to win the World Series.
Wainwright on unsportsmanlike coverage at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Atlanta turning to Spencer Strider in a winner-go-home Game 4.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Cannon. Coming up Friday, I'll tell you why my favorite team's season is over. Sorry, Giants fans. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge Studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, we're working towards the weekend. Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Loaded second hour. Chris Blair with us in 15 minutes. We're going to be talking Texans with Cody Davis from Locked On Texans at the bottom of the hour. We're going to spend a few minutes here just talking a little more LSU and Auburn with some sound from the players and coaches that we've heard from this week. And I'm sticking to the theme of Auburn's offense because we all know what a bugaboo LSU's defense has been. I try to keep things very positive, but it's tough when you talk about the LSU defense. However, Auburn's offense has had its serious struggles to this point. And it was evident last year that Auburn didn't really have a quarterback. They basically settled on Robbie Ashford, and he ran around a good bit and made some deep throws, but wasn't really a capable SEC quarterback. He just wasn't. Zach Calzada's not either. TJ Finley's not either. They just haven't had that since Bo Nix left. And he wasn't that all the time at Auburn. He was, in fact, that very little, but he just was one Saturday in Tiger Stadium. So Hugh Freeze got to Auburn. He kind of surveyed the situation, goes, yeah, I probably need to go get a quarterback. So he went and got Peyton Thorne from Michigan State, and Robbie Ashford hung around. So that's been the two guys that they have essentially used this season. Freeze spoke earlier on the SC teleconference about the development in the quarterback room.
I thought there was a lot of improvement in the Georgia game. I was really pleased with a lot of things. And like I said, there's 6 to 10 plays that certainly went the wrong way. And I'm not talking about, with Georgia's athleticism just beating you, but us not coaching it properly or our kids not executing it properly that really had a magnifying glass on directly affecting the outcome. And, that's for us as coaches to get corrected for sure. But I thought our quarterback play was pretty solid.
I think that's fair. I think it was pretty solid, if very conservative. Thorne ran a good bit. Ashford ran for a touchdown in that game up the middle. They didn't throw it very well, but they haven't thrown it very well all year. And we know that Hugh Freeze, in his time at Ole Miss, built a couple of dynamic offenses. He had some really good offensive teams with Bo Wallace that had a good defense as well with the Land Sharks. And then they had Chad Kelly, and they kind of threw it all over the place with that offense as well. And he's not there yet, but he's a really, really good offensive coach. And Brian Kelly was also on the SEC teleconference and talked about what it takes to defend a Hugh Freeze offense.
This is a very difficult offense to defend. They're physical up front. The quarterback situation gives you, great versatility in terms of being able to run it and throw it. Number of different backs.
Some of that was true. Some of it wasn't. I don't think they're really difficult to defend. That has not been evident here in their point totals. I do think that they have a good bit of versatility in the backfield, and I do believe that they are physical. That's the model of this team, and that's the stats I laid out for you at the top of the show if you missed it. Now, Kelly was also asked if Auburn is is like Missouri in any way. I thought it was kind of a weird question, but Brian Kelly did go into kind of what he sees when he watches Auburn.
Each offense has its identity, and this one,
is a little bit different in that you're going to see, obviously Peyton Thorne, but you're going to see Ashford too, and he's an outstanding runner. You got to defend the quarterback much more in terms of a running threat. And then the passing game is, I would say that there's a little bit more similarity in the passing game, but the running game is a lot more unique than Missouri's. You're dealing with counter and quarterback counter and misdirection and the quarterback being central in, their offense in terms of running. So I think, when you talk about two offenses, I think it's more like a combination of Mississippi and Missouri.
And so he is right when you watch. They do have a complex running game. It involves a lot of offensive lineman movement. There's a lot of motion. There's a lot of read and option. There's a lot of things they can do off, but it's a layered running game far more than it is a complex passing game. And so you talk about the two quarterbacks that LSU will see. That's Peyton Thorne. I went through his stats at the top of the show. 59 of 94, 63%, but only 128 yards per game, 4 touchdowns, and 4 picks. He's thrown for 20 more yards on the season than KJ Costello threw for in one day in Tiger Stadium. So that's where he is. And then Robbie Ashford has done a good job running the ball, but in terms of him passing, 8 of 18, which is 44%, 1 touchdown, no picks, and 14 yards per game. And Ashford he completed 2 passes against UMass, 1 against Cal, 3 against Samford, 1 against Texas A&M, and 1 against Georgia. So against Power 5 teams, Cal, Texas A&M, and Georgia, he's completed 1 pass per game. He's in there mainly to be a vessel to run the football, to give a gadget play, and if you cheat too much on the run, he's capable of throwing it, but he's not going to get back there and let it rip 5 or 6 times. Like, that's not what they've done all year long. So Jacobian Guillory met with the media, and he was talking about, hey, this week we've got to prepare for 2 quarterbacks.
Both quarterbacks, they both can run the ball, but the starting quarterback definitely has the better arm. But, no matter, who's in, we know that we got to home in and, both of them to run. So we just got to be ready. So that's really what we're just preparing for, day by day. We're just trying to, just get ready for the game.
It's just going to be incumbent on LSU's front to just slow this thing down. If you can put Auburn in some third downs, they're going to have very little chance. If LSU's offense can get a lead, which the defense needs to help with, you can't give up 3 touchdowns in a row like they did against Missouri. You've got to get a stop or 2 early and let the offense get a lead. If either one of those 2 things happen, if Auburn gets behind or if Auburn gets behind the chains, their offense is not built for that. Their offense is built to play from ahead, of the sticks, to move the chains and run the clock and be slow and methodical and just beat you up. They just want to beat you up. That's really the only punch they have. They are a 380-pound fighter who wants to drag you to the middle of the ring and just throw punch. They're not going to use their quickness. They're not going to use their speed. They're not going to hit you with variable combinations. They're in there for one reason only, to run the ball and beat you up. And that's partly in their quarterback play. Their quarterbacks are running the ball too. So the defense has got to do their job, which is getting behind the sticks and getting some stops so the offense can get ahead and put Auburn behind on the scoreboard. And you've got to realize, if you're this LSU defense, that your offense is humming at such a remarkable clip. All you got to do is just help them out a little bit. And Jacobian Guillory talked about that.
We know that we have to play at a high level, but not only does the D-line play at a high level, the whole defense has to play at a high level. So, with the D-lines playing better, the whole defense plays better, we win games. So it's not that hard of a formula, to win games, because, the offense is going to go out there and do what they do. As long as the defense, if we know we can do it week in and week out, no one's going to be able to mess with us, and I still believe that.
That's my favorite quote I've heard from LSU player all year. It was so real, so refreshing, confident, yet understanding of what we've looked at. I can't think of a quote that I've heard from LSU player all year that was better than that. It was essentially we know we got to raise our level of play. We got to play better. And we know we have to play better, but we don't have to be perfect, because look what the offense is doing. And if we can hold up our end of the bargain and the offense keeps doing it, we're going to be awesome. It's what we've been saying, but it just comes from a more important source. It's more important for Jacobian Guillory to be locked in on that, understanding of that, and confident in their abilities than it is for us to sit here and rant and rave and scream for 10 hours a week. I loved that quote, and I always talk about this, and I'm measured when I bring it up because I've been watching college athletics really, really closely for almost 25 years now. And I just worry about the psyche of college kids when they have adversity. You don't have to worry about the guys that are getting paid millions. Like, it's their job. They show up and they'll go to work. College kids can check out mentally. And I worry about kids who play football at LSU who lose a couple games early, might not have exactly what they wanted in front of them, and may get pouty about it. Look into the transfer portal. I mean, that's the generation we're in. And so you look at this LSU defense, and they can't stop anybody for 4 weeks. You're like, well, why are we even trying? These coaches stink. We're not any good. No, it's not like that. And it's rarely like that. I know, it's rarely like that. But if this LSU defense believes in itself, plays really hard, uses that crowd to their advantage, and slows down Auburn's running game, LSU will have a really good time on Saturday night. If they're out of position, loafing, missing tackles, get behind, let Auburn just start rolling up rushing yards, it's not going to be very much fun on Saturday night. That was a great quote from Jacoby and Guillory, and I think it holds. Hopefully the entire defense feels that way. Like, hey, guys, it's all right there in front of us. We can do a little bit better than this. And they bring their best effort to the field on Saturday night in Death Valley. It'll be a 6 o'clock kickoff from inside Tiger Stadium. I want to remind you about Football Fridays while we're here on a Thursday. Our Football Fridays are live and local from 7 a.m. to midnight. 7 a.m. off the bench comes at you 7 to 10. Then at 10 o'clock, Live at Lunch takes over from Ruffino's. They will go for 3 hours until 1 o'clock. That's when they'll hand things off to me on the Hunt Palmer Show until 3. Matt Moscona from 3 to 6 on After Further Review. And then you've got Louisiana Prep Preview at 6 o'clock. Cade Wazan, his cast of thousands, getting you ready for another Friday in high school football. They'll have the Catholic High broadcast immediately following them. They'll come on after Catholic High for Louisiana Prep Scoreboard, and that'll go until midnight. So full day of local action, 7 a.m. to midnight tomorrow on your Football Fridays. Hope you'll lock us in for as much of it as you possibly can. Speaking of radio, Voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, going to join us next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. This collaboration between Ochsner and MD Anderson is awesome. It's going to provide patients in our region to cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner's the first and the only provider in Louisiana that's got a fully integrated cancer program based on MD Anderson's practice standards, their treatment plans, protocols, access to their specialists, their researchers, all of it, plus groundbreaking research, innovative therapies, and select clinical trials that are available to eligible patients. That expert care is going to be provided in 7 different locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany, and Baton Rouge. And the best news, they're working together, Ochsner and MD Anderson are, to certify additional sites moving forward. We're all affected by cancer one way or another. If you'd like more information on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, we invite you to visit ochsner.org, ochsner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, Live at Lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infinity Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Scoocha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED.
Week 7 in the prep football season, and we get started Friday night at 6 with Louisiana Prep Preview presented by Brock. Got the Guy in Central kickoff at 7, and that's immediately followed by Louisiana Prep Scoreboard presented by Lake Urgent Care. On YouTube, Your View, and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Moving right along here on a Thursday. Every Thursday, Brian Kelly Show from TJ Ribs coming at you at 7 o'clock. Voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, will be there, and he's here right now with us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how are you?
Doing good, Hunt. Hope you're doing well.
Doing very well. How was Columbia?
It was nice, man, to actually feel some fall weather, although it has been a little more fall-like here this week. I mean, we woke up, it was 40 degrees outside the hotel. We loaded the bus at 8 o'clock and then got to Faroe Field, realized that there are no windows in the press box, and the sun was beating in, and we were surrounded by glass, and it turned into a greenhouse, and we were stripping down pretty quickly after layering up, leaving the hotel. It was about 150 degrees inside that press box.
I'm sure it was quite a scene in there. You and Doug, Patrick Wright, Jim Nickel. What a squad in there. Unbelievable.
What a show we put on for the rest of the media.
It was quite a show by the LSU offense again. How much fun you having watching them?
They are fun, man. I mean, I know I heard you talk earlier this week about let's pump the brakes. There's still plenty of season left here before we start just, comparing them exactly to 2019. But up until this point, I mean, it's about as efficient a running offense. And the fact that the running game now is becoming a major part of it as well. Kudos to the offensive line and obviously Logan Diggs, who it appears is taking over as RB1 now for the most part. The running game now. I mean, when we saw that, it was amazing to me in that first half that LSU, their plays pass to run were heavily in favor of the run. But, that's what Coach Kelly talks about. In a perfect world, he wants a team that, pardon the cliche, will take what the defense gives them. And it looked like Missouri early on, and frankly, throughout most of the game, were trying their best not to let Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, and Jaden Daniels beat them deep, although they were able to do that on a couple of occasions anyway. It was just nice to see them say, okay, you're going to sit back, you're going to empty the tackle box, then we'll run the football. And between Jaden and Logan, both over 100 yards, Thomas over 100 yards, I mean, just the 8th time in LSU football history they've had, those kind of numbers from those individual players and positions. So kudos to LSU. I mean, they can run it now, they can throw it now, and it makes them a very difficult out.
One of the things that I've been thinking about is the pressure that the offense seems to be under, because it feels like they better go score a touchdown every time. And for them to execute the way they do with that understanding, it makes it even more impressive in my eyes.
It is. I mean, it's certainly not what you want. Everybody knows that, but you're exactly right. I mean, You get the football to start the game, you have to punt. And I got to admit, and I imagine there's a lot of Tiger fans joining me now, that after Missouri walked right down the field and scored, got the 2-point conversion right out of the gate, and it's 8-0, you start thinking about, wow, we missed a possession without scoring. Is that going to come back to bite us? And then Missouri went down 3 straight times and led 22-7, and you start thinking, man, the pressure this offense is under. Again, it's not what you want, but it is impressive to see them go out and be able to put points on the board. And as the game moves along, they answer and then take the lead and then get behind and then answer and take the lead again. It's impressive. Again, I'm sure Coach Kelly doesn't love this stat, but, for the 5th time, LSU down double digits and coming back to win, this time on the road against the top 25 team in Missouri. But I think you make a valid point. It's not what you want, but it is pretty impressive to watch this offense perform at the level they're performing at because, frankly, they have to.
Do you think this coaching staff, having a month and a half worth of sample size, will coach a little bit differently on short 4th downs and medium range 3rd downs? There's a wave of analytics that says, hey, going for 4th down and short, I mean, Lane Kiffin's been doing it for 5 years, and there are a lot of teams now that are jumping on that bandwagon and go, hey, field position may not matter a lot. Let's just try to keep the ball.
Yeah, I think that's going to be key. And I think, to your point about having this amount of sample size and the increase in the ability to run the football, both with Jaden Daniels, I mean, let's face it, there were 3 times where they went empty set, 5 wide. First 2 times, Jaden had some pretty good success. And then on the 3rd time, you're thinking, surely everybody knows he's going to run this football. And, including dumb old me knew that. And, he still was able to get a 35-yard touchdown. But I think with his effectiveness and, again, the emergence of Logan Diggs, and, again, kudos to the offensive line, I think it's certainly something they ought to think about because if it's 4th and short, 4th and a yard, 4th and 2, and all you really need is a fresh set of downs to allow Jaden Daniels and his receivers and the running backs and even him running the ball more opportunities and to keep a drive alive, potentially to score, I got to believe that's got to be in your favor. And again, it all comes down to their ability now to be able to run the ball, which I think was still in question the first several weeks of the season. Number one, because we didn't know who that, reliable running back was going to be, and you didn't want Jaden Daniels to have to be the leading rusher every game. And now I think even though he led the team this past week, it's nice to have another 100-yard rusher in the backfield with you.
You think the defense did anything that stood out to you in the second half? They got 4 stops and had the big play at the end.
It's amazing because Coach Kelly told us last Thursday that there was, without question, a tangible, palpable impact that Coach Pete Jenkins had on the team. And I got to admit, at first I thought, well, that's, you want to instill some confidence in your defense, that they had a good week of practice. You want to, pay homage, if you will, to Pete Jenkins, but how much could they do in 3 or 4 days leading up to it? But I got to tell you, as the game wore on, you saw the defensive line start to look like the defensive line we've been looking for all season. Now, completely coincidental, Missouri's offensive line got winded. I don't know. Or do you give credit to what they worked on last week? I just know that it felt like as that game wore on, they played better. They got more pressure on Brady Cook. I mean, early on, he could do no wrong. In fact, his receivers were dropping balls. But I think the pressure got to him a little bit as the game moved along. And frankly, speaking of analytics, I agree that most times if there's under 40 seconds to go in the game and you get an interception and you got a 3-point lead, you're probably running, staying in bounds, and getting down. And in that particular situation, with the way this defense has played all year, the way they've been maligned over the last couple of weeks, it almost felt like I'll give them a pass on that one. Let Major take the interception, let him take it for a pick 6, put the game out of reach by 10 points, and have that defense leave that field in Missouri with a little extra confidence that, hey, we played better, we got things we still can work on, but we made some plays to help our team win today. And I don't think they had a lot to show for in the last 2 weeks. So for that reason, I excuse the fact that he went ahead and made it a pick 6.
And Major, as Brian Kelly said on Monday, is a little prone to having some fun and doing some things. So he wanted to get in the end zone and peacock about it a little bit, and that's all right. They got the win, and they come on back for a Saturday night in Death Valley. Auburn is the next team up on the schedule. I know you had your Hearing Voice podcast a little bit earlier. What'd you learn about the Tigers?
Yeah, I tell you, this is amazing. I have been telling this stat to everybody since I talked to Andy Burcham yesterday, the voice of Auburn. We talk about recruiting, and it is such a lifeblood of a program. And when you look at where Auburn has been the last couple of years, where they are now, even though I think Hugh Freeze, perfect time, perfect fit for Auburn, coming in last year as the new hire, Andy informed me that from Gus Malzahn's 2021 recruiting class, there is one player on the roster that is coming to Baton Rouge that was in that class in 2021, and that's Jarquez Hunter. Which, again, is amazing when you think about, again, every team has a lot of turnover, but that's a lot of turnover to have nobody but one from 2021 on that team. And I think they lost a lot of ground over the last couple of years for all kinds of reasons, on the field and off the field, all kinds of shenanigans, that they lost a lot of ground on the recruiting trail. And that's where they're going to have to work hardest to try to get Auburn back, within contention, I think, year in and year out. But it's a team that defensively, not quite the Auburn defense of the past, but they are tops in the SEC when it comes to run zone defense. They've made things difficult for everybody they've played once they, so-called bend but don't break. It's a team that's going to run the football a lot. They haven't had a 100-yard passing game yet. It's quite comical, frankly, to look at the number of catches Auburn's receivers have versus what just Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. have.
Yep.
Through basically the same number of weeks minus one game. It's Auburn and LSU. And, I've only been around, this will be my 8th year. So there's a lot more Tiger fans that have seen a lot more action, including yourself, than I have in this series. But I am well aware that, all kinds of things happen on the field and off the field, and barns and earthquakes and all the like that goes with it. And I've seen teams, both sides, Auburn and LSU, that on paper look so much better that this should be an easy one to pick, and that just hasn't been the case. So I think if you're looking and wanting to learn about Auburn, your best bet, as you probably talked about, is to go back, look at some of the film against Georgia, because frankly I thought Georgia would do to Auburn what they did to Kentucky this past week, and obviously that didn't happen. But, I think Auburn's going to have a lot of trouble with all of the weaponry at the disposal of Jaden Daniels. And, Coach Hugh Freeze mentioned it clearly and explicitly on Monday during his press conference, is we got to try to force them to kick field goals because, stopping that offense, stopping Jaden Daniels is a heck of a lot easier said than done.
You mentioned earthquakes and barns burning. The illustrious Brian Haldane stopped me in the hall earlier today and said, there's supposed to be an eclipse Saturday night. It's LSU and Auburn. Something goofy is going to happen. So I think we got to strap in for that.
Yeah, I always expect something crazy to happen. And, it's nice to be back at home for the first time in 2 weeks. I'm sure the team's going to appreciate it. They tell us it's a sellout. The atmosphere should be electric. Saturday afternoon should be a lot of fun on campus. And, I think this team, LSU I'm speaking about, I think, based on what the schedule has done so far, their wins and their losses, the matchups they've had, especially on defense, I think this Auburn game comes at a right time. I really do. I think because there's a chance that you're going to see both quarterbacks. They're both going to try to run. You're going to see a plethora of running backs. They're going to try to run. They'll try to get the ball in the hand of some of the receivers out wide and put the ball in their hands and try to let them run a little bit. But I don't know that there's going to be as much pressure. We'll see. I've heard that Auburn made some locker room material out of, they don't have Jaden Daniels, they don't have Malik Neighbors, so they're trying to motivate themselves. I don't know if they're going to be able to muster much of a passing game, but we'll see. But frankly, I think for this defense coming out of the Missouri game with a little bit of confidence, not a giant leap, as Coach Kelly said, but a couple of steps forward, and now you don't have quite the offense, at least schematically, that you've seen for the first 5 out of the first 6 weeks anyway. Helps. And frankly, when you look at what they did against Mississippi State, that was a team that, Will Rogers didn't help himself, but they really didn't do a whole lot in the passing game, and they couldn't do anything running the ball. Yeah. So, that's kind of the optimism I'm taking into this matchup. for LSU defensively. And until somebody shuts down LSU's offense, then I think we're going to see more of the same.
Have some fun at TJ Ribs tonight. We'll see you on campus on Saturday. Thanks, Chris.
You got it, Hunt. Thank you.
Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, Hearing Voices podcast with the opposing play-by-play voice every single week. And, of course, the Brian Kelly Show every Thursday over at TJ Ribs with us every Thursday as well. Take a time out. It's the Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Get ready to start the NFL week off right, because right now all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday Night Football. Just place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Broncos and Chiefs. You'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. The NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/1045ESPN so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 and present, Louisiana. Refund issues not withdrawable bonus bet that expires 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. If you're someone who has a gaming problem and wants help, call 1-877-770-STOP.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance shops, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206.
Tune in this Sunday as we bring you a trio of NFL games. We'll start with the noon kickoff, Washington Commanders at Atlanta Falcons, and then immediately following that, we'll take you to Patriots at Raiders, and then our nightcap, the New York Giants and Buffalo Bills. Tune in on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Sunday afternoon from Houston, Texas. It'll be the Houston Texans and the New Orleans Saints noon kickoff on CBS. We're going to talk about things from the Texans' perspective. We'll bring in Cody Davis. He is the Texans beat reporter for Locked On Texans and Texans Daily. Joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Cody, how are you?
Doing well. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm trying to decide, do I want to wear a black and gold suit to the game, only because I do bleed black and gold. Let me just say that.
You bleed black and gold, yet you're covering the Texans. Help me out with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, my family is from New Orleans, so, of course, I grew up rooting for the Saints. Let's just say the Texans, covering the Texans is my day job. But, once I'm done with the writing and the podcasting, I do go back and watch the Saints.
All right. Well, let's start with the Saints then, because obviously you're paying attention. It was a good start, and then the offense bottomed out, and then all of a sudden they go to New England and pitch a shutout and play well on offense. So what do you make of this Saints team as they enter this game with Houston?
I just think it's still two things that you got to try to keep in mind. One, health in terms of things that's going on with Derek Carr, with the shoulder injury and stuff. And two, most importantly, I just think this team is still is a team that is still trying to find that chemistry and that camaraderie. You see Alvin Kamara, just came back. Michael Thomas, he's still trying to get, in the worst of things. Then on top of all that, you still got Derek Carr, who, not only just battling through the injuries and stuff, but he is also trying to find his way on the new team and stuff. So, I tell people all the time, just give the New Orleans Saints some time. And I truly believe that game against New England Patriots was a turnaround game, I must admit.
We shall see. I think a lot of people figured the Saints would win their division. There was some expectation on this team adding an established quarterback to a fairly solid roster. Like, this should be a team that should push off the dot and compete for the NFC South. I think the opposite was probably true for the Texans, who have played musical chairs with their coaches over the last couple of years, and now they get DeMeco Ryans in. I mean, was there any expectation on the Texans as we entered August?
Not really. I know, for me, I looked at this from a standpoint of the Texans literally still trying to find themselves as a franchise. I mean, I'm pretty sure you all seen it from afar. Ever since they blew that big lead against the Kansas City Chiefs in a divisional round game in 2019, I think it was. It's been a bad rebuild here in the city of Houston. You go through two head coaches. You go through quarterback after quarterback after quarterback after the first franchise quarterback that you thought you was going to have for the next 10 or so years decided he didn't want to play for you. So it's just been a mess. So you bring in DeMeco Ryans, who literally has just changed the culture of this franchise. You draft C.J. Stroud. You draft Will Anderson. And the one thing that I've always looked at the Texans this season, I said, I'm going to temper the expectations. I always knew that they were going to be competitive, but I always said that, especially with you having a rookie quarterback like C.J., you got to give him time to develop. You got to give him time to find his niche, find his groove, and just try to understand what it means to go through your reads, your progression, and everything else on the NFL level. Thought it was going to take some time. Now, must admit, did not see CJ adjusting this fast to the NFL, but, I think the game against the Atlanta Falcons was basically a reality call to where, things might be looking extremely better than what we thought it was going to be this early into the season. This is still a young team, still a young quarterback, still a young coach, and they're still going to have to go through that development and that learning process.
How would you describe how the Texans have handled C.J. Stroud? Like, throw him in the deep end, go get it? Have they made some easy throws, some easy things for him to get him acclimated to? Like, what has his play looked like through the first 5 weeks of his NFL career?
Oh, man, well, I'm pretty sure you guys seen it, but his play has looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
Especially after a year that you're just finishing covering Davis Mills. It's like a complete 180, I must admit. But, the one thing about CJ that I would say, man, I think the Texans, and I've been told this, they've been kind of shocked, surprised how fast he's been able to just develop and just learn this game at the highest level so quickly. And the thing with CJ, it's you got to keep in mind that, one, not only is he learning and developing, but two, he's not that much in a favorable situation. When you look at the offensive line unit, I mean, we are going into week 6, and at least 4 out of the last, let's say, 5-6 weeks, the offensive line has been so banged up to the point it's basically just been a musical chairs around that point. I think this week might be the first time this season that Coach D'Amico Ryans and Bobby Storr will have an opportunity to put the same 5 guys out there on the offensive front, which goes back to your question, how C.J. Stroud has looked. This is a man who has adapted to his situation. He has utilized all of his weapons, well, the weapons that's available to him, because even coming into this season, I didn't think C.J. Stroud was going to have enough weapons to thrive like the way he is. And then you also got to keep in mind when you look at him kind of adapting to his situation that's somewhat unfavorable, the run game hasn't been there as well. So, that's the thing about CJ. He has literally found a way to adapt, and that has allowed the Texans organization to trust him a lot more with everything that they're trying to do, which coming into the season seemed like they were going to start out being a running team, but with the rushing attack being so bad, of course, you got to flip that now, and it's just allowed the Texans to just trust him to do a lot more on the field.
Why would you say the running game has struggled? Is it a talent issue at tailback? Is it offensive line issues? What's been the biggest problem trying to run the football?
Honestly, I think it's a mixture of both. Damian Pierce, in my opinion, he's gone through a sophomore slump.
Yeah.
And we actually just finished talking to offensive coordinator Bobby Storr, and he was asked a similar question. And Storr said that Damian Pierce and Devin Singletary, who, just signed over from the Buffalo Bills this offseason, they're still trying to get adjusted to the run scheme. And the injuries to the offensive line has not made things a lot easier for the rushing attack. So, the talent is there, but it's just the mixture of that camaraderie, that chemistry, and everything else in between. It just hasn't been there.
Cody, one more before we get you out of here. How's our guy Tari Eason doing for the Rockets? I know you cover the Rockets as well.
Oh, man, Tari Eason is looking really good, man. I consider him one of the biggest steals from the 2022 draft. Tari Eason, man, that guy, he plays hard. The one thing about him and that I always find amazing, even going back looking at his time at LSU, he's a decent scorer, but it seems like he doesn't need plays in order to score. I know one thing former head coach Stephen Silas used to say a lot, and new coach Ime Udoka said the same thing we talked to him on yesterday, is that the ball finds energy when he's around, and he is a guy that every time he's on the court, he's going to give you 110% effort, man. And right now he's a fan favorite down here in the city of Houston. Another team that's basically on the rise, and it's kind of similar to the Texans. You really don't want to put too much expectations on them, but Tari Eason is one of those guys who has really established himself as a foundational piece for that organization.
Well, if you're watching Saints and Texans on Sunday, CBS, and they show a shot of the press box and you see a guy dressed in black and gold, that's Cody Davis. He's covering the Texans. We're locked on. We appreciate some time, Cody. Appreciate it very much.
Sounds good. Thank you.
He is Cody Davis, covers the Texans as well as the Rockets for the Locked On Network, and we thank him for a little bit of time. Going to be a weird vibe in Houston for this one because the Astros and Rangers play in the ALCS. They do play on Sunday night. And that town is eaten up with the Houston Astros. They've made 7 consecutive ALCSs, which is absurd, and they hate the Rangers. So this is going to be a wild weekend for those two franchises. And I wonder if the Texans game kind of gets lost in the shuffle against the Saints. We'll see. Going to be interesting, but a big game for New Orleans, no question about it. They'll have to deal with C.J. Stroud and apparently a struggling running game. But we'll get our final pick on that game coming up literally 24 hours from right now. We'll take one more time out, come back with a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show presented by Rouse's.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Kind of past the lunchtime hour, but let's not talk about lunch. Let's talk about catering. Let's talk about tailgating. Let's talk about feeding your office. Let's talk about those types of things. No better spot than Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's, fantastic cold subs. I love the warm cheesesteaks as well, but they're great for catering. They've got boxes that have 12 individually wrapped subs. They can also do boxed individual lunches. If you got an office that you want to feed of 20 people, those boxed lunches can be an awesome awesome selection for you over at Jersey Mike's. 20% off Hunt Palmer Show listeners with your catering orders over at Jersey Mike's. And don't forget, when you get that catering order, throw in a cookie platter or a brownie platter. Tasty, tasty stuff. Invite you to download the Jersey Mike's app. Stop by and see our friends at the location on Highway 30 in Gonzales. It's near the New Heritage Shopping Center over in Gonzales. Jersey Mike's, awesome for lunch, awesome for dinner. If you're going out to tailgate or a high school game tomorrow, no better spot than Jersey Mike's. I want you to make it Jersey Mike's.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Scooncha fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water, they can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Moscona inviting you to join us for Thursday's AFR, presented by the Aesthetic Medicine and Anti-Aging Clinics of Louisiana. We'll head to Auburn, take a closer look at the Tigers. Your Fantasy Blitz, Ryan Clark, will join us. It's Thursday's AFR, 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
The first ever Baton Rouge Kids on the Catwalk Dreams Come True fashion show coming up October 26th at Country Club of Louisiana. Dreams Kids are going to be walking down the catwalk with local dignitaries as their escorts. That includes Flynn Foster and Richard Condon. Admission includes dinner and an open bar. Also going to be live and silent auctions featuring celebrity auctioneer T-Bob Hebert. Purchase your tickets or your tables online at dctofla.com. That's dctofla.com. Man, dignitaries as their escorts. I cannot say the word escorts amazing. Glenn Foster and Richard Condon plus T-Bob Hebert. Star-studded event they got there. I'll go on and buy your tickets and your tables. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All right, first one here. The Braves are upset that Orlando Arcia, making fun of Bryce Harper, got out in the public. Catcher Travis d'Arnaud called the clubhouse a sanctuary. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave this. Here's the deal. Travis d'Arnaud has been in the big leagues for a long time. Orlando Arcia has been in the big leagues for a long time. After every game, everyone, the media is allowed into the locker room. It's not before they're allowed in. It's not the entire time that the players are in there. There is an allotted time where the media goes into the locker room to get their quotes. That's where you see all the post-game interviews with the players up next to the lockers. That's part of the process. And you have to know there are cameras and reporters in there during an allotted time. So if you're going to do something or say something like making fun of Bryce Harper, it's going to get out, and it's really the reporter's job to make sure it gets out. Now, you're not supposed to go down the hall into the injury room and talk about what treatment's going on to a player. That's not allowed. But the media is allowed in the locker room. It's not a sanctuary. It's literally where the media is allowed to go for interviews. So that's just wrong. If you're cranky that Bryce Harper got all fired up, well, sorry. Then don't say it or get him out. They didn't do either one, and they paid for it yesterday. So sorry about that, Braves.
Astros Rangers in the ALCS. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. I cannot believe the Astros have been to the ALCS 7 straight times. 7 in a row. The Cubs went 3 years in a row in 15, 16, and 17. I was in heaven. Could not believe it. That's not even half of what the Astros have done. Correa's gone. Springer's gone. Verlander's gone. Greinke's gone. Oh, yeah, well, he's back. That's true, but he's not didn't pitch.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it's crazy that they've been able to continue this run of excellent play and then get to the point where crazy upsets happen and find a way to win. Huge hat tip, trash can bang, whatever you want to do to salute them towards the Astros. Nice work.
NBA Executive VP and Head of Basketball Ops Joe Dumars said the league has communicated to its players and teams that we are really emphasizing this is an 82-game season in response to the trend of players resting during the regular season. Teams will actually listen to this. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. Unless you start costing teams draft picks, finding them millions of dollars, not like $25K, they're going to do what they think is best to win a championship. I understand, I've talked about this a lot, but I understand the rationale of the fan who expects the players to play because you're watching on TV and you buy expensive tickets to game and you expect them to play, and I get that fully. I'm just not on that team. Whenever I support a team, I want them to win the World Series, win the NBA Finals, win the College Football National Championship, and if the best thing for winning is to sit your player for a certain game here or there, those are the breaks. If I would have gone to Wrigley Field 4 years ago and the Cubs would have sat Chris Bryant and Anthony Rizzo, like that would have been a bummer. But I understand it because I want in October those guys to be ready to roll. And so I'm just have a fundamental disagreement there. And I get that this sport is run by the money from television contracts and then to a lesser degree ticket sales. And those are less valuable if the players don't play as much. I get it all. But again, I'm in it for championships, not pure entertainment. So I'm just not going to agree with the load management haters.
Our last one here, Texas QB Arch Manning will donate 100% of the $102,500 in proceeds from the sale of his Panini America 1-of-1 throwback Prism Black autograph card. That is a very long name of a card.
It really is.
He's donating all of it to the Ronald McDonald House Charities of Central Texas. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. That's a great thing. If you're cranky about the direction of college sports because of name, image, and likeness, I understand where your frustration is rooted. The fact of the matter is that we're not going anywhere backwards. We're only going forwards. And when you see really good stories about NIL, that's awesome. And Arch Manning, I realize, has been in a really good position financially the entirety of his life because of his family and his last name. That doesn't mean you can't do awesome stuff. And this is an awesome thing that he's doing. And so I'm amazed at the name of that card, and I'm amazed that a card goes for $102,000 for a player that's never completed a college pass. That's crazy to me. But supply and demand. Something's worth something, and if somebody's willing to pay it, that's what it's worth. So that's a great story, and hot tip to Arch for getting that done over there with the Ronald McDonald's House in South Texas. That's it for a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Shout out to the folks at Rouse's. If you are going to do your weekend shopping, get on by Rouse's to do it. They've got all your tailgating supplies, all your lunch and dinner supplies. You need lunches for the kids at school. Rouse's is your spot. T-Bob will be out there at the Rouse's Burbank and Lee tomorrow from 3 to 5, so go hang out with him as we're always there on Fridays. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube. Anywhere you find your audio, you can find our stuff there. We talked LSU Auburn, talked Saints with Luke Johnson, Jason Caldwell of Inside the Auburn Tigers, Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, Cody Davis from Locked On Texans. We were loaded all day, and tomorrow's a football Friday, and we are fired up for that. Have a great Thursday. We're back same time, same place tomorrow. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Don't let your power go out. It's no fun when the power goes out. It gets real hot. Can't watch TV. No good. You can protect yourself against it. Boudreaux's Electric can help you with that. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux operated Boudreaux's Electric for 40 years. They're a certified Generac generator dealer, a premier Generac generator dealer. Every single Generac generator that they install comes with a free 10-year warranty. I'm not going to beat that. Free 10-year warranty on your Generac generator. And plus, they can monitor your Generac generator from their business. So they'll know if it fails or there's a malfunction, they can come out and service it. So when the power goes out, yours stays on. Love telling you about Boudreaux's Electric. Call it the same number they've had for 40 years. It's 985-397-1562. It's 985-397-1562. Don't let the power go out. Folks at Boudreaux Electric will help you.